They shared a father, they shared a throne, but they never shared trust. One was the daughter of a Spanish queen and a devout Catholic. The other was the daughter of a disgraced queen and the symbol of Protestant England. Mary Tudor and Elizabeth Tudor were sisters by blood and enemies by belief. In the brutal politics of the Tudor court, family ties could be as deadly as betrayal. And for these two women, only one could survive to rule. Mary Tudor was born in 1516, the only surviving child of Henry VIII and his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. She grew up beloved, a princess destined to marry a prince and unite kingdoms. Elizabeth was born 17 years later, in 1533, to Anne Boleyn, Henry's second wife. But Anne's fall was swift and bloody. She was executed when Elizabeth was just 2. Elizabeth was declared illegitimate, stripped of her title, her place in the line of succession, and her security. The sisters were raised in different worlds. Mary was steeped in Catholic devotion and Spanish tradition. Elizabeth was educated in the Reformed faith and trained in politics from the shadows. Their fathers' marriages divided them before they even understood the stakes. When Henry VIII died, his only son, Edward VI, ascended the throne at the age of 9. Edward was Protestant, and so were the men who controlled his court. Mary's Catholic faith made her dangerous to them. Elizabeth's Protestant upbringing made her a safer, more controllable figure. Edward adored his younger sister Elizabeth, but he saw Mary as a threat to his religious reforms. By the time he was dying at just 15, Edward was determined to keep Mary off the throne. He altered the succession, naming his Protestant cousin, Lady Jane Grey, as heir. Mary saw it as treachery. Elizabeth? She kept silent, careful not to show where her loyalties lay. Edward's death in July 1553 set off a storm. Jane Grey was proclaimed queen, but Mary acted fast. Riding out to East Anglia, she rallied supporters, peasants, nobles, soldiers, promising to restore the true Catholic faith. Within weeks, Jane's support crumbled. Mary rode into London in triumph, cheered by thousands. At 37 years old, she became England's first crowned queen regnant. Elizabeth walked beside her in the victory parade, smiling for the crowds. But inside, both women knew the truth. This alliance was temporary. Mary wasted no time reversing her brother's Protestant reforms. Latin returned to the churches. The Pope's authority was restored. Elizabeth outwardly conformed, attending Mass, kneeling when required. But Mary's advisors whispered, "She is a Protestant at heart." Worse, rumors spread that Elizabeth's very existence threatened Mary's rule. Foreign ambassadors noted that Protestant rebels were speaking her name in secret. To Mary, this was more than politics. If Elizabeth was plotting against her, it was both treason against the crown and heresy against God. In early 1554, rebellion erupted. Led by Sir Thomas Wyatt, the uprising aimed to stop Mary's marriage to Philip of Spain and place Elizabeth on the throne instead. Elizabeth denied any involvement, but Wyatt's men had carried letters bearing her name. For Mary, it was enough. Elizabeth was arrested and sent to the Tower of London, the very place where her mother, Anne Boleyn, had been executed. The Queen visited her sister, demanding answers. Elizabeth swore she was innocent, even writing a desperate letter. "If ever any thought of treason against you or your crown came into my mind, God confound me utterly." Mary wasn't convinced. For weeks, Elizabeth languished in the tower. Every sound of hammering wood echoed like a death sentence. Was a scaffold being built for her? But Mary hesitated. Executing Elizabeth could provoke Protestant England into full revolt. Instead, she ordered her release, but not her freedom. Elizabeth was placed under house arrest at Woodstock, guarded day and night. The two sisters exchanged formal letters, all politeness on the surface and mistrust underneath. Mary's reign was short and turbulent. Her marriage to Philip of Spain was unpopular. Her burnings of Protestant heretics earned her the name Bloody Mary. And most devastating of all, she remained childless. Twice she believed she was pregnant. Twice it was a phantom. By 1558, Mary was dying. She named Elizabeth as her heir, perhaps out of duty, perhaps because there was no other choice. When Mary died in November 1558, Elizabeth became queen at last. She restored Protestantism within months, undoing much of her sister's work. The sisters' war had ended, but only because one of them was gone. History remembers them as monarchs, but before the crowns and the titles, they were just two sisters, trapped in a game where only one could win.